शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु, सहनौ भुनक्तु, सह वीर्यं करवावहै, तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्वजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. वागर्ताविप सम्पृक्तौ वागर्त प्रतिपत्तये जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। श्री पार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोमलं पूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि आर्तान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयम्। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशीविभूषितकरात् नवनीरधाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടും ഇറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ടാത്തോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. We had a break, so it please take a long one. Okay, so let's do a quick review. I think the second 5 we had completed 1 to 8, right? So we'll just do 4 stanzas, right? Anu, can you do one half, and Girish, you can do one half.
व्यक्तव्यक्तमिदं न किञ्चित् भवत् प्राकृत प्रक्षये मायायां गुणसाम्य वृत्तविकृतौ त्वय्यागदायां लयम् नो मृत्युश्च तदामृतं च सम्भूत् नानो न रात्रे स्थितिः तत्रैकस्त्वमिष तत्रैकस्त्वमिषयदा किल परानन्दप्रकाशात्मना
The fourth line, first word, tatraikas tvamashishyatah kila.
तत्रैकस्त्वमिष्यता किल
Shishyata.
परानन्द
Yeah.
परानन्दप्रकाशात्मना कालकर्म गुणाश्च निवहाः विश्वं च कार्यं विभो चिल्लीलारतिमेयुषि द्वैतदा निर्लीनदामाययुः देशां नैव वदन्त्यः सत्त्वमयि भोः शक्त्यात्मनाधिष्ठतां नो चेत् किं प्रसूनसदृशां भूयो भवेत् सम्भवः एवं च द्विपरार्थकालविगता वीक्षां शुश्रूषात्मिकां बिभ्राणे त्वयि सुक्षुभे त्रिभुवनि भावाय माया स्वयं मायाधः खलु कालशक्तिरखिला दृष्टं स्वभावोऽपि च प्रादुर्भूय गुणान् विकास्य विदतुः तस्या सहायक्रियाम् माया सन्निहितो प्रविष्टवपुषा साक्षीदिकीदो भवान् वेदैस्तां प्रतिबिम्बतो विविशिवान् जीवोऽपि नैवापरः कालादिप्रतिपोदिताद भवता सञ्जोदिता च स्वयं माया सा खलु तत्त्वमसृजत् योषौ महानुच्यते
ओके तत्रासौ त्रिगुणात्मकोऽपि च महान् सत्त्वप्रधानस्वयं जीवोऽस्मिन् खलु निर्विकल्पम् अहमित्युद्धो
Yudbodha.
अहमित्युद्धोद निष्पादकः चक्रोऽस्मिन् सविकल्पबोधकमहन्तत्वं महान् कल्वसौ सम्पृष्टं
Tamoti.
तमोति बहुलं विष्णो भवत्प्रेरणात्.
Girish, in the three places, I think the same thing. So first, second line, first word, third line, first word. Jivesmin, chakresmin. You are saying O.
जीवेस्मिन् खलु. ओके
Yeah, and then
जीवेस्मिन् खलु
chakresmin.
चक्रेस्मिन्.
Yeah.
ओके ओके सोऽहं च त्रिगुणक्रमात् त्रिविधताम् असाध्य वैकारिको भूयस्य तेजस् तमासावित भवन् अध्येन सत्त्वात्मना देवान् इन्द्रियमनिनो कृत वाताकृपाश यश्विनो वह्नि द्राच्युत मित्रकान् विधि श्रीरुद शारीरकान्.
The second line, first word mattum. Bhuyas taijasa tamasaviti.
भूयस्थैजस तामसाविति भवन्.
Yeah.
भूयस्थैजस तामसाविति भवन्. ओके ओके भूमन् मानस बुद्ध्यहङ्कृति मिलच्चित्ताख्य वृत्यन्वितं तच्छान्तःकरणं विबोधव बलात् सत्वांश एवासृजात् सृजत् जातस्तैजसतो दशोन्द्रियगणः तत्तं सांशात् पुनः तन्मात्रं नभसो मरुत्पुरपते शब्दे शब्दोजनितत्वद्बलात्.
And the third line, middle word, matam, dashendriya. Again, you said O sound there instead of A. Dashendriya ganaha.
Okay, sorry, that I've been reading that again wrong. Dashendriya ganaha. Okay, jatas tejasto dashendriya ganaha. Okay. शब्दाद्वय द्योम ततः
Sasarjita
विभो स्पर्शं ततो मारुतं तरुमाद्रूपमते महोत च रसं तोयं च गन्धं महीम एवं माधव पूर्वपूर्विकलानाथाद्याध्यमर्निविथम्.
So on the third line, Purva Kalanath, and then there's a comma, it. So it, and then Adhyadya Dharmanvitam.
Kalanath.
And the Da, which is breaking into it and A.
Okay. Purva Kalanath Adhyadharmanvitam Bhutagramamimam Tvameva Bhavan Prakashyasthamasat.
It's Bhagavan, just before the comma, fourth line, Tvameva Bhagavan.
Tvameva Bhutagramamim Tvameva Bhagavan Prakashyasya Tamasat.
I think that's where we left at 8. Okay, so we'll start with, I'll continue with that.
Rajesh, I have a quick question. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the 8th stanza, actually, in the last 2 lines, can you just tell us where the comma comes?
Yeah, so in the third line of the 8th stanza, like Purva Kalanath, the da that is there, that is, we're just breaking into it and A. So Purva Kalanath, comma. Adhyadhya Dharman Vitam, comma. End of the line. Bhuta Grama Mimam Tvameva Bhagavan, comma. Prakashayat Tamasat.
Thank you.
So, okay.
Hey Rajesh, one more thing. Actually, in that 4th stanza, is it Yosau or Diosau?
4th stanza.
The last line, actually, Yosau or Diosau?
Yeah, see, it's Diosau, but then it's easy to say it as breaking it into it and a yo. So it is Buddhita from Asrjat.
Okay.
Yosau Mahanuchite. But you can say the whole thing together without, what I don't want you to say is Srija. I don't want you to break it as Buddhita Srija Diosau Mahanuchite. That won't work. You either have to say it and a Yosau or say the whole thing together as one word.
Got it. Okay.
Because it and a ya is the break there. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we'll start with 9. Let me see who I had today. Pramila, you can be a student, and Bhuvana, you can be a student. Okay, stanza 9. Yethe bhutaganastatendriyaganaha devascha jata pratang noshe kurbhuvananda nirmiti vidhau devairami bhistada tvam nana vida sukti bhirnuta gunaha tatvanyamunya vishanne cheshta shakti mudiryata nikhatayan hairanyamandham vyadhaha. Also have to say the meaning for 8. But let me do a recap because we took a 2-week break, so it might be difficult to follow where we left. And at the end of this class, like I've told you last time, is I will try to simplify it in a way that is relatable, right, with another analogy. So anyway, so we started in the last one with the creation of the cosmos, right? It first started with this concept called as Purusha, who's the Purusha referred in Purusha Suktam. Like we said, Purusha doesn't mean male, right? Purusha means it's that supreme divine Paramatman who doesn't have any form or shape or gender, right? And so with that Purusha, who's the supreme energy, who's independent of everything else. And then there was all of the material matter and energy of the universe, which is called as a Mula Prakriti, from which multiple universes form. And then when that Mula Prakriti is getting triggered at this time, because Purusha decides it's time for a particular universe to be created, then from that various things start coming. The first thing that came was the Mahat Tattvam, which is what we call as a universal consciousness, which means that every single Paramanu, which is the lowest of the subatomic particle in this universe, to everything that exists in the universe has the same common energy inside of that. There's no difference between anything else. Everything has the same common energy, which is referred to as that Mahat Tattvam, which is there in everybody and every single thing, including a plant, including a rock, and including everything else. So which means everything is the same, but however, there is differentiation which is created artificially, which was the next one which creates was the ahankaram, which is the concept of individuality. So although we are all one, we in a sense not just us, but beings which we're going to see in all the 14 worlds. Everything and every being begins to see themselves as unique because of that concept. And then all the ingredients for the creation of the universe, right, which was after the ahankaram, it came the jnanendriyangal, which gives anybody the sense to understand what is the knowledge outside, which is the ability to see, ability to perceive things, ability to hear, and then the karmendriyangal, because of which we are doing the action. So all of these things are getting formed. Now, each of this also has a governing deity which is getting created. Now, no being is getting created because this governing deity at this point is still an extension of that same supreme lord which is governing everything right now. Eventually we'll see what they become. That's kind of where it ended at 7. And then the next one, which is 8, is starts with the creation of the panchabhutas, which we know, which is the earth, water, fire, air, and ether. That's the panchabhutas. And then there are the pancha tanmatras, which is sound, touch, form, taste, and smell, which are the core sensory perceptions behind everything. So those 10 are getting formed. And the way they're getting formed is it goes in a sequence. So first thing, that's why in the stanza 7, the last one comes is Shabdo Janitvad Bhalat. So amongst these 10 Pancha Tanmatras and the Pancha Bhutas, the first thing that forms is the concept of a sound. So sound is getting created first. Once that tanmatra of sound is getting created, that sound needs a place to traverse through. So space comes next. It's a panchabhuta of space comes because sound can traverse through space. Then the next, so all of this is going to kind of get connected to each other, right? So think of it as a table with tanmatra on one column and panchabhuta on the other column. So first sound comes. From sound, space comes because sound traverses only through space. The next one comes is sparsham, which is the concept of touch. Now, this from touch, next one which is coming is vayu, is the panchabhutam which is coming because vayu has the concept of touch of the tanmatra, which means when there's wind blowing, you can feel it, right, in your skin. It then inherits the previous tanmatram of shabdam, which is sound. So when there's heavy wind blowing, you can hear the vayu as well. So vayu has two tanmatrams, the sound and the sparsham. And the vayu is the second panchabhutam. Then from there, the next one which comes is form, which is the tanmatram of form or rupam. And from there comes Agni. The third panchabhuta coming is Agni. So Agni has a form, which is the one of the things it's inheriting. Agni then can also have touch, because if you touch Agni, you can feel Agni. And when there is heavy fire burning, you can also hear it. So it inherits three properties. It inherits Shabdam, it inherits Sparsham, and it inherits Rupam, which is the form. The next one, which is a Tanmatram, which is coming is Rasam, which is taste. From that is coming water, Jalam. So now Jalam will inherit all the previous characteristics. I can actually taste water. right? Although water is tasteless, but you can taste it. You can't taste Agni, right? Although later on Bhaktri will say how Krishna is different because he ends up swallowing Agni. But for normal beings, we can't swallow Agni, right? So we can drink water, we can taste it. When water is flowing from a tap or a waterfall, it has the form. So it's inheriting the previous thing of form. You can, of course, touch water and feel it. And when water is flowing, you can hear it. So similarly, each of these Panchabhutas are inheriting one of the previous Tanmatram. It kind of keeps building on each other. And from the last one, the last Tanmatram, which comes is smell. And from that, the Panchabhuta, which comes is Prithvi or Bhumi. Now, this doesn't refer to earth necessarily. This refers to land, right? Any land. So any of the land, because fire doesn't have a smell, water doesn't have a smell, but any land has smell, and you can feel the land, right? And you can technically you can eat it. Of course, you can't eat mud, but you can eat what grows in the land. So similarly, these Pancha Bhutas and the Pancha Tanmatrams are the concepts of all of these. Now remember, no world has been created yet at this point. No being, even Brahma is not yet created. But these are all the core ingredients which are getting formed, which will eventually go and create all the worlds, right? So these are the basic fundamental elements which are actually getting created, and they keep building on each other and getting created. So that's how stanza 8 ends, right? Now, going to stanza 9. So once all these, once all these ingredients have been created right now, and all of these things are there, like we said, there is a two concepts. There's a concept of Hiranyandam and there's a concept of Brahmandam. So the simple way I kind of explain this is, when you think of an egg, right? The egg has all the characteristics to create a chicken. But the egg in itself is not a chicken, right? It has all the ingredients inside of an egg. The egg has to hatch, right? Which means there's some energy that has to go into the egg, which then mixes everything to create the chicken. That egg in that form, the universe in that form, is called as the Hiranyandam, which is a golden egg. So all of the things we spoke before, from Mahat to Ahankaram to the Tanmatram, all the ingredients which are there, together is called as the Hiranyandam. But the universe is not yet formed. Now, the deities, which are the extensions of Lord, are saying, okay, I have all the ingredients, but I'm not able to create the layers of the world, physical world, right? That's not yet been created. So at that time, so this it's not mentioned in Narayaneeyam, but it's in Bhagavatam. So the first Purusha is called as the Karanodakashayi Vishnu, from whom multiple of these Hiranyandams are coming non-stop, constantly. When this Hiranyandam is there in its raw form, an energy of the Lord enters into that Hiranyandam to create physical worlds out of all these ingredients, which means that, and we're going to see what those physical worlds are in the next stanza, but when all those physical worlds are created, which means now there is a planetary system which is getting created, each having different characteristics, right? And so that when it takes shape is called as a Brahmandam. That's a Hiranyandam is in its raw form. Brahmandam is when it is a created form. So it says, you, O Lord, are then having to enter, your energy is entering into each of these Hiranyandam and then creating a final output of a Brahmandam. Like we said, think of a raw egg which is there, which is not yet hatched. Some energy is going in, some heat is required. Over time, it hatches and then becomes a chicken. That's the Hiranyandam Brahmandam. Simple way of understanding that. Anyway, so that is what is happening in stanza 9, is that you are going in and then creating that Brahmand or Hiranyandam, that egg is now getting formed, and then you are going in to create the various worlds. And later on, I'll bring this together at the end of the Dashakam. So, ete bhuta ganas tatendriya ganaha. Put a visarga and comma. You won't have a visarga, add a visarga, comma. Devascha jataha. Put a F, jataf. Pratang, ing sound at the end. Pratang. Put a plus. No shekur bhuvananda nirmiti vidhau, comma, devairamibhis tada. So one comma after ganaha in the first line. The whole thing is together. Then vidhau, comma, devairamibhis tada. Yete bhuta ganastatendriya ganaha devascha jatah pratang no shekur bhuvananda nirmiti vidhau देवैरमीभिस्तदा
एते भूतगणास्ततेन्द्रियगणाः देवाश्च जाताः पृथङ्नो शेकुर्भुवनाण्डनिर्मितिविधौ देवैरमीभिस्तदा एते भूतगणास्ततेन्द्रियगणाः देवाश्च जाताः पृथङ्नो शेकुर्भुवनाण्डनिर्मितिविधौ देवैरमीभिस्तदा
I think this is Bhuvana, right? First half.
I'm sorry. Yes. Yete Budaganastatendrayaganaha Devascha Jata Brudag Noshe Kurpuvananda Nirmita Vidau Devairami Bistita
Nirmiti vidhau. Second line.
Nirmiti Vidau Yete Budaganastatendriyaganaha Devascha Jada Brudag Noshe Gurbuvananda Nirmiti Vidau Devairami Bistada
Tvam nanabhida suktibhir nuta gunaha. That is there. Remove it. Put a visarga and comma. Gunaha. Tatvanya munya bishan. So that end of that line, that's a long word, you cannot break it. End of that line takes a in sound, n sound. Munya bishan, comma. If you have a ish at the next beginning of the fourth line, that will go away because it becomes an in the third line. Cheshta shaktim udirya tani ghatayan, comma. Hiranyamandham. Hiranyandham. It's called Hiranyamandham Vyadaha. Tvam nanhabhida suktibhirnuta gunaha tatvanya bishan cheshta shakti mudiryata nighatayan Hiranyamandham Vyadaha.
त्वं नानाविधसूक्तिभिर्नुतगुणाः तत्त्वान्मूल्या विषन्नः चेष्टा
Vishan, just in Vishan. The Ishan comes as because of a landing sound only, but it's Munya Vishan or Munya Vishan.
मूल्या विषन्न चेष्टाशक्तिमुदीर्यतानि घटयन् हैरण्यमण्डं व्यथाः त्वं नानाविधसूक्तिर्भिनुतगुणाः गुणः तत्त्वान्यमूल्या विषन्न चेष्टाशक्तिमुदीर्यतानि घटयन् हैरण्यमण्डं व्यथाः
Tvam Nanavida Shukti Tatvanya Vishan Cheshta Shakti Mudiryatani Kadayan Hiranyamandam Vyada Tvam Nanavida Shukti Birnuta Gunaha Tatvanya Vishan Cheshta Shakti Mudiryatani Kadayan Hiranyamandam Vyada.
The third line, Nuta Gunaha only, not a Gunaha.
Birnuta Gunaha.
Andham tatkalu purva srishta salile tishtat sahasram samaha nirbindhanna kritas chaturdasha jagat rupam viradahvayam sahasraih karapada murda nivahaihi nishesha jivatmako nirbhatosi marutpuradipasamam trayasva sarvamayat. So a lot of this thing is very similar to, like I said, I gave the example of a chicken hatching, but you can think of like how a baby is born, right? So whatever ingredients are required for a baby to be born is there in the mother's embryo, which you think of as the Hiranyandham, right? from that, now, just because you mix two things doesn't mean a baby is going to get born. It needs to have the right circumstances. There's a gestation period with which it waits, and various chemical reaction, multiple things happen eventually for the baby to be born, right? So very similar, I'm just simplifying it in a similar way, that Hiranyandam, which is there, which is now has all the ingredients for the creation of the universes. Because you remember at the end, we started by saying there's nothing like nothing existed. It always existed. It was existing in a sukshma form. And I was giving the example of the apple tree of the seed, which was there, right? So similarly, all those ingredients are there. Then there is a gestation period. Finally, when that completes, the various worlds are getting formed. Now, in our Puranas, it says this universe, as we talk about, has got 14 different layers of the world. Doesn't mean 14 planets. An individual layer will have millions of planets, right? There's no limits to that. But it's got 14 different layers depending on the consciousness of the beings who are there in every layer. So that 14 layers are getting formed here, right? And that 14 layer, when we do Sandhya Vandanam, when you do the Bhur Bhuva Swaha, we say Bhuvaha, Suhaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam, right? So those are all the words which are there from Bhuvaha. Doesn't mean earth. It just means earthly plane where there are multiple planets, and earth is one of the planet in that plane. So from there are all these upper worlds, and then there are all these lower worlds, which Atala, Sutala, Talatala, Patala, and all those other 7 worlds are there. Totally 14 worlds are there. So these 14 layers of worlds are getting created. Now, these 14 are a very high level classified as 3. The upper 6, the middle, and then the bottom 7. So it's referred as Tribhuvanam, which is 3 worlds, but energy it's 14 worlds, right? So here, it talks about you, O Bhagwan, who's entered into these Hiranyandam to create these 14 worlds. You are there across all of that. And for those who know Purusha Suktam, it starts with Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha, Sahasraksha, Sahasrapat, which is exactly what this is saying. You are going in as the Virat Purusha. So Virat means 14 worlds in this case. So Purusha is that Purusha who is getting into all of these 14 worlds, which means all these 14 worlds are in you, O Virat Purusha, O Purusha. So you are, all these 14 worlds are contained in you. So when you are contained, all these 14 worlds are there and you are shining, it's as if you have thousands of heads. Sahasra Shirsha head. Doesn't mean the Virat Purusha has 1,000 heads. It means he has thousands of heads. Because one head gives a certain intelligence. So thousands of head means you're so intelligent, you're spanning across all these 14 worlds. So Sahasrakshaha means thousands of eyes. So with 2 eyes, I can have only this vision, right? Up to 180 degrees. So if this Purusha has thousands of eyes because he can see across all the 14 worlds, right? Sahasrapat means he's across all the 14 worlds because he has thousands of feet, right? So that is a description of the Virat Purusha, which we're going to see in the next Dashakam. But the concept is getting introduced here, saying you, O Lord, is the one who got into this Brahmandam and the Hiranyandam and created this Brahmandam of 14 worlds, which are then all the various planetary things which are there, right? So that is how. So this is again, like we said, is now the final elements are getting created. All these elements are coming together to create the 14 worlds. So Andam Tat Khalu, comma, Purva Srishta Salile Tishtat. You have to say that word together. Salile Tishtat Sahasram Samaha, comma, Nirbhindan Nakritash Chatur Dasha, which is 4, 10, 14. Chatur Dasha Jagadrupam Viradahvayam. That's one word. So the whole second line is together, no pause in between. Andham tat khalu purva srishta salile tishtat sahasram samaha nirbindanna kritash chatur dasha jagadrupam viradahvayam.
Andam tat khalu पूर्वसृष्टसलिले तिष्ठत् सहस्रं समाह निर्बिन्दन्न कृताश्च चतुर्दश जगद्रूपं विराटाह्वयम्.
The second line, Nirbindan Nakritash chatur.
Nirbindan na kritachatur. Okay.
Yeah.
Andam tat khalu पूर्वसृष्टसलिले तिष्ठत्सहस्रं समाह निर्बिन्दन् न कृताश्चतुर्दश जगद्रूपं विराटाह्वयम्
अण्डं तत्खलु पूर्वसृष्टसलिले तिष्ठत्सहस्रं समा निर्बिन्दन्न कृताश्च दुर्दश जगद्रूपं विराडाह्वयम् अण्डं तत्खलु पूर्वसृष्टसलिले तिष्ठत्सहस्रं समा निर्बिन्दन्न कृताश्च दुर्दश जगद्रूपं विराडाह्वयम्.
First line, last word, samaha. Okay, this is visarga there. Last word.
Samaha.
Sahasraihi. They put a h to join it. Sahasraih. Kara pada murdha nivahaihi. Another visarga comma. Referring to the same thing. Karam is hand, padam is foot, murdhni is head. So Purusha Suktam first answer that we said. Murdha nivahaihi, comma. Next line on top of the nishesha, if you have a ir, that will go away. Nishesha jivatmako, comma. Nirbhatosi, comma. Marutpura dipa samam trayasva sarvamaya. Says, oh, Guru Vairappa, you who shown as the Virat Purusha across all these 14 words, please eradicate all my ailments. Sahasraih karapada murdha nivahaihi Nishesha jivatmako nirbhatosi marutpuradhipasamam trayasva sarvamayat.
साहस्रैः करपादमूर्धनिवहैः निःशेषजीवात्मको निर्बाधोऽसि मरुत्पुरादिपसमां त्रायस्व सर्वामयात् साहस्रैः करपादमूर्ध्वनिवहैः निःशेषजीवात्मको निर्बाधोऽसि मरुत्पुरादिपसमां त्रायस्व सर्वामयात्
साहस्रैः करपादमूर्तनिवहैर्निःशेषजीवात्मको निर्बाधोऽसि मरुत्पुरादिपसमां त्रायस्व सर्वामयात्.
Bhuvana, on the third line, the nivahair, that ir becomes a visarga there and comma. Nivahaihi. On the fourth line after nirbhatosi, there is a comma.
Yes, sir. साहस्रैकरपादमूर्तनिवहैः निःशेषजीवात्मको निर्बाधोऽसि मरुत्पुरादिपसमां त्रायस्व सर्वामयात्.
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Okay, I'll just take 5 minutes and give you a parallel analogy to explain what just happened in ways which is again, it cannot be exactly the same because this is so complicated, but I'm just trying to simplify it, right? So you think of like a master chef. You have a big catering order that you're going to deliver, right? You have multiple ingredients. You have sugar, salt, flour, multiple spices, right? Each of this on its own is worthless, right? You just have a turmeric powder that cannot create a dish, right? It's just a turmeric powder at that time. So when we spoke about all the ingredients that was there, right? We spoke about the panchabhutas which are there. We spoke about the tanmatrams which are there. All of these can exist on their own, right? But they have not yet come together, and nobody right now knows how to create the dish using all of these ingredients, right? It also has the panchabhutas of Agni, Vayu, water, all of that are there, but none of us know how to cook, right? Now this main deity comes, who is the master chef is coming. The master chef is coming, and he's now first assigning a role to everybody. He says, I need fire. Why do I need fire? Because the purpose of the fire is to heat stuff and bring things together. He says, I need water. The water has a role. He says the role of the water is to dissolve things or to make it liquidify, whatever the role is. So that is the role which is assigned to each of these ingredients at the very beginning, which is what was happening, right? So now that each of this is there, then there is the master chef alone cannot cook everything. So he has multiple cooking sous chefs who are there. So he says, I need 4 or 5 sous chefs which are there, which are the deities who are going to come later, which is Agni, Vayu, Indra, all of these deities, right? Now, the word Agni, when I use, it could mean the element of fire. It also means Agni Deva. It means two things. The first element which I refer to is literally Agni, the concept of heat or concept of fire. Agni is also like a sous chef. So that Agni Deva, who's going to come later, has a certain role to play in the existence of the universe. Like Indra, all of these are titles. These are not actual name of people, right? Every Manu, which we see later, comes a new Indra, his new role is getting taken. So this master chef is coming and saying, this sous chef Agni, this is going to be your role. I'm going to have a role called Agni, who's going to do this. I'm going to have a role called Indra, who's going to do this. I'm going to have a role called this, which is going to do this. Which is where in 7th it says all these roles are saying, I don't know what to do. You got to tell me what to do, right? The roles are there, but we don't know what to do. So this sous chef, which is like, if you kind of simplify it as that Virat Purusha, who's now coming and saying, I have all these ingredients. I am the one who has the master plan of all the dishes to be done. I know what role each ingredient is going to play. I know what kinds of energy I need, this stove, I need these elements. I have all these sous chefs. And then this Virat Purusha then gives the master plan of what needs to be cooked, right? And then once that blueprint is laid out, he has a menu of what all needs to be cooked for the party. Once all that work is done by the master chef, then he says, now let me hire people to do the work. So the first person he's going to hire is Brahma. And then he's going to say, Brahma, you are going to be my main right-hand chef who's going to help me cook all this. Here is a blueprint. Here is a menu book of everything that needs to be done. And then all these roles are going to get fulfilled. Brahma is going to say, okay, I need a Agni, one person who's going to do the role of Agni. I need a person who's going to do the role of Indra, and so on. And then everything gets created, right? So that is kind of a very high level of how this process is playing out, although it is at a very high macro level, right? Right now, we are at a point where the master chef has come, he's created the blueprint, he has created the menu of everything that is there. So the next Dashakam, which is description of Virat Dehasya Jagadatmatva Varnanam, which is the description of the Virat form of the Lord. So we are saying, oh, master chef, without you, nothing is going to get cooked here, right? So you are the one who owns all of these things. You are the one who's the source of all the things that are going to come. So the way they're going to describe this is, and this is communicated in two places. One, Brahma communicates this to Narada directly about the Virat form of the Lord and how important that is. Then when Shukha Brahman is communicating to Parikshit about Srimad Bhagavatam, the first thing he starts off is by describing the Virat form of the Lord, right? And this is extremely important, and this is very similar to the Purusha Suktam, which is chanted at the end of every important event, right? And this is what this does really at a very high level is, you take that 14 worlds that we saw, and everything that is going to exist in the 14 worlds, and say, all these things are inside of you. If I give a structure to these 14 worlds in the form of a person, because we can understand human forms, that form is called as the Virat Purusha, right? It's just an imaginary form. And, and Brahma also later on to Narada, he says is, this doesn't mean that this is all there is to Bhagavan. He's way more than this. But for normal beings to understand, you have to understand that every single world is a part of that Bhagavan, and I'm just making him stand straight so that I can understand, and we'll go from top to bottom and saying this part of your body is this world, just to say that everything is contained within him, right? So that's a description of the Virat Purusha. It's very important, Dashakam, to imagine, and at the very end, it will say, when you're on your deathbed, you have to close your eyes and imagine this Virat Purusha's form, saying that, you are that main deity inside whom all of these worlds are contained. There's nothing that's outside of you, and everything is contained within you, right? As a creator. So that's this. So stanza 1. एवं चतुर्दश जगन्मयतां गतस्य पातालमीश तव पादतलं वदन्ति पादोर्ध्वदेशमपि देवरसातलं ते गुल्फद्वयं खलु महातलमद्भुतात्मन्. So some of these things, is not much to explain because, like you said, it just says how the various parts, like you imagine a human form, because that's what we can imagine, right? And then it says that, you, Bhagavan, took this Virat Swarupam form with all the 14 layers of the world, like we said, embedded in you. He says the lower portion of your feet is the Patalam, the upper portion of your feet is the Rasathalam, and your ankles, which are there. So we are right now at the bottom of the foot region. The bottom is Patala, top is Rasathala, and your ankles are Mahatala. Which is, again, like I said, don't ask me why that is Mahatala. All it is telling is that all of these are part of your body. There's nothing there that is outside of you, right? That's the takeaway here. So, evam chaturdasha jagan mayatam gatasya, comma, patalamisha tava padatalam vadanti padordva deshamapi deva rasatalam te, comma, gulphadvayam khalu mahatalam adbhudatman. I'm just breaking at that mahatalam adbhudatman. एवं चतुर्दश जगन्मयतां गतस्य पातालमीश तव पादतलं वदन्ति पादोर्ध्वदेशमपि देवरसातलं ते गुल्फद्वयं खलु महातलमद्भुतात्मन्.
एवं चतुर्दश जगन्मयतां गतस्य पातालमीश तव पादतलं वदन्ति पादोर्ध्वदेशमपि देवरसातलं ते गुल्फद्वयं खलु महातलमद्भुतात्मन्.
Oh, 2 times, right? You did 2 times? I thought you did once.
No, I did only once. I forgot. Sorry. एवं चतुर्दश जगन्मयतां गतस्य पातालमीश तव पादतलं वदन्ति पादोर्ध्वदेशमपि देवरसातलं ते गुल्फद्वयं खलु महातलमद्भुतात्मन्.
एवं चतुर्दश जगन्मयतां गतस्य पातालमीश तव पादतलं वदन्ति पादोर्ध्वदेशमपि देवरसातलं ते गुल्फद्वयं खलु महातलम् अद्भुतात्मन्. एवं चतुर्दश जगन्मयतां गतस्य पादालमीश तव पादतलं वदन्ति पादोर्ध्वदेशमपि देवरसातलं ते गुल्फद्वयं खलु महातलम् अद्भुतात्मन्.
Stanza 2. जङ्घे तलातलमतो सुतलं च जानु किञ्चोरुभागयुगलं वितलातले द्वे क्षोणीतलं जगनमम्बरमङ्गनाभिः वक्षश्च शक्रनिलयस्तव चक्रपाणे. Then, the part which is we saw till the ankle, then the part which is from the knee to the ankle, he says that is talatala. Then your knees, which is janu, the knees are sutala, and your 2 thigh portions, right, are the bitala and atala. Like we said, atala, sutala, bitala, rasatala. So all the lower worlds, right? That's bitala and atala. Then your hip is where is earth, the earthly planets, bhuloka. And then your nabhi is the sky. Like in Purusha Suktam, it says nabhya asit antariksham, right? So your nabhi, like I said, you cannot literally say that how is sky different from the various planets, and if earth is the hip, why is this? All it says is everything that we know of is part of the Lord. That's all it is, right? So it says your nabhi is the sky, and then your chest is the Swargaloka, which is the abode of Indra and all the demigods, right, who are there. So Jange thala thalamato sutalam cha janu, comma, kinchoru bhaga yugalam vitala tale dve kshoni talam jaganam. I'm just baking at that im there. Jaganam ambaramangha nabihi Visargan, comma, Nabhihi. Next line on Vakshascha, there is a ir on top that will go away. Vakshascha Shakra Nilayas Tava Chakrapani. So the last Chakrapani is Cha sound, which is the one who holds the discus Chakram. Shakra is Sha sound, which is referring to Indra. Janghe Tala Talamatho Sutalam Cha Janhu Kinchorubhagayugalam Vitala Tale Dve Kshonitalam Jaganamambaramanganabihi Vakshascha Shakranilayastava Chakrapane.
Janghe Talatalamado Sutalam Chajano Kinchorubhagayugalam Vitala Tale Dve Kshonitalam Janghanamambaramanganabihi Vakshascha Shakranilayastava Chakrapane. Janghe Talatalamado Sutalam Chajano Kinchorubhagayugalam Vitala Tale Dve Kshonitalam Jaghanamambaramanganabihi Vakshascha Shakranilayastava Chakrapane.
Jange Talatala Sudalam Chajano Kinchorupagayugalam Vitalatale Tvaye Shonitalam Jaganam Ambaramanganabihi Vakshascha Shakranilayastva Chakrapane. Jange Talatala Sudalam Chajano Kinchorupagayugalam Vidalatale Tvaye Shonitalam Jaganam Ambara Manganabihi Vakshascha Shakranilayastva Chakrapane.
Griva Mahastava Mukam Cha Janastapastu Phalam Shirastava Samastamayasya Satyam Evan Jaganmayatano Jagadashritayirapyanye Nibhaddava Pushe Bhagavan Namaste. So Bhagavan Namaste, salutations to that Lord who, Griva Maharaha. Griva is referring to neck. So your neck is the Maharloka. Then the face, Mukam cha Janaha. Janaha referring to Janaloka, which is your face. And then Tapaloka, which is your forehead, and your Satyaloka, which is your head. So with this, all these 14 words. And not in this, generally, Narayanam at least, they don't talk about what is or who is there in the various lokas. There is no mention of that. But we're going to see later how Brahma is going to be situated in the Satya Loka, which is the top of the 14 lokas, right? And then when we say heaven, generally using the term Swarga Loka, that is the Bhuvaha Suvaha, that it's only at that level, right? At the Suvar Loka is the Swarga Loka. There are all these Janaloka, Tapaloka, Maharloka, which are all above those. When I say above those, it means maybe relative to position, I don't know, but it does say you have to go further up, millions of miles further up than these systems. But again, like I said, it's all about the consciousness levels, right? And in the lower worlds, when we say the Patala, Atala, Sutala, etc., which you're going to see later on, some of those, and we refer to as the demons or asuras are there, right? That doesn't mean they're weak beings. They are extremely powerful beings. It's just as their consciousness is not as advanced towards going towards Satyaloka. That is a reference point, right? The reference point is how do I go get liberated? How do I go merge with the Lord? If that you refer as 100 as the highest point, then you go relative scale from 100, you go down. That is how all these worlds are. So the lowest most lokas can still be more powerful than the Bhuloka in terms of strength and power, but their intention and consciousness are not as advanced towards reaching liberation. So that is a relative way of thinking about it. Anyway, so this by third stanza is essentially said that all these 14 lokas which I discussed, O Virat Purusha, are just parts of your body, right? Because it's all contained within you. In addition to that, everything which is in those 14 lokas are also contained within you. Not only are the lokas, which is what the next 6 stanzas are going to talk about. So, Griva Mahastava Mukam cha Janas Tapastu, Phalam Shirastava Samastamayasya Satyam Evam Jaganmayatano Jagadashritaira is there, and then you put a plus there because you're going to say the two words together. Jagadashritaira Pyenyair. So those two lines together. Jagadashritaira Pyenyair Nibadda Vapushe Bhagavan Namaste. Griva Mahastava Mukam Cha Janastapastu Phalam Shirastava Samasta Mayasya Satyam Evam Jaganmayatano Jagadashritayirapyenye Nibadda Vapushe Bhagavan Namaste.
ग्रीवामहस्तव मुखं च जनस्तपस्तु फालं शिरस्तव समस्तयमस्य सत्यम् एवं जगन्मयतनो जगदाश्रितैरप्यर्नैर्निबध्ववपुषे भगवन् नमस्ते ग्रीवामहस्तव मुखं च जनस्तपस्तु फालं शिरस्तव समस्तमयस्य सत्यम् एवं जगन्मयतनो जगदाश्रितैरप्यर्नैर्निबध्ववपुषे भगवन् नमस्ते
Nibadha Vapushe, just double dha there.
निबद्धवपुषे भगवन् नमस्ते
ग्रीवामहस्त्वमुखं च जनस्तपस्तु फालं शिरस्त्वसमस्तमयस्य सत्यम् एवं जगन्मयतनो जगदाश्रितैर्यन्यैर्निबद्धवपुषे भगवन् नमस्ते ग्रीवामहस्त्वमुखं स जनस्तपस्तु फालं शिरस्तव समस्तमयस्य सत्यम् एवं जगन्मयतनो जगदाश्रितैर्यन्यैर्निबद्धवपुषे भगवन् नमस्ते.
That's the third and the fourth. You have to try to say it together because it is Jagadashritairapi Anyair. That P and I is becoming pya together there. So you cannot stop at the end of the third line. Okay.
Rajesh, ஒரே டைம் திருப்பி அந்த தேர்ட் லைன் சொல்லுங்க ஒரு டைம் ஒன் மோர் டைம்
Evam Jaganmayatano Jagadashritairapyenyair.
Oh.
Okay, Jagadashritairapyenyair. Up to that is one word.
So, ராஜேஷ் ஒரே ஒரு கொஸ்டின் இந்த என்னோட புக்ல வந்து ஜெகதாஸ்ரீய தைரபி அந்யைர் நிபத் அப்படி போட்டிருக்கு அது பிரிக்கலாமா அப்படி
இல்ல அது ஜெனரலா அந்த p and r வந்து becomes a pya unless you're stopping there you cannot separate it out.
சரி okay sorry.
Like in English we write they and r becomes there, right? So it's not right way to write they and r together, அந்த மாதிரி தான் அது. So it's Jagadashritairapyenye. Okay, some places we will break it where we are stopping. Here we are not stopping, so we're just saying it together. Okay. All right, so we'll switch now. Sita Lakshmi, you can be a student, and Suganya, you can be a student. Stanza 4. Tvat brahmarandra padamishwara vishwakandha chandamsi keshava ghanastava kesha pashaha ullasi chilli yugalam druhinasya geham Pakshma Niratri Divasau Savita Chanetre. So you can just talks about all the other things as part of that Virat Purusha. Like we said, the Virat Purusha form is described for beings like us because we can only imagine a human form, right? So he says that, that Brahmarandra, which is the top of your head, is where all the Chandas, all the Vedas are. Then your hair are like all the clouds we see everywhere. Then, the Druhinasya Geham, Brahma is sitting in your two eyebrows because it is the top, because the entire face is Satyaloka. And then, your eyelashes, it talks about is a night and day, and your eyes are the sun. Like in Purusha Suktam, it comes, Chandrama Manaso Jataha Chaksho Suryo Ajayata. Your eyes are the sun. No, sun is there are so many suns, right? But he's just gently giving it as an example for our understanding that your eyes are like the sun. Tvat Brahmarandra Padamishwara Vishwakanda, Chandamsi Keshava Khanas Tava Kesha Pashaha Ullasi chilli yugalam. Sorry, somebody is not muted. Ullasi chilli yugalam druhinasya geham, comma, pakshmani ratri divasau savita cha netre. त्वद्ब्रह्मरन्ध्रपदमीश्वर विश्वकन्द छन्दांसि केशवघनास्तव केशपाशाः उल्लासि चिल्लियुगलं द्रुहिणस्य गेहं पक्ष्मानि रात्रिदिवसौ सविता च नेत्रे
त्वद्ब्रह्मरन्ध्रपदमीश्वर विश्वकन्द छन्दांसि केशवघनास्तव केशपाशाः उल्लासि चिल्लियुगलं द्रुहिणस्य गेहं पक्ष्माणि रात्रिदिवसौ सविता च नेत्रे त्वद्ब्रह्मरन्ध्रपदमीश्वर विश्वकन्द छन्दांसि केशवघनास्तव केशपाशाः उल्लासि चिल्लियुगलं द्रुहिणस्य गेहं पक्ष्माणि रात्रिदिवसौ सविता च नेत्रे. ராஜேஷ்ஜி, ஒரு கொஸ்டின். இந்த கனஸ்தவன்ட்டு போட்டிருக்கு இந்த புக்ல. கனாஸ்தவா கனஸ்தவா? ஓகே.
Also, Rajesh, one more question. The third line, Ullasi Chilla, is that a split there? Ullasi and Chilla?
Ullasi is one word, chilli is one word. Ullasi chilli yugalam.
Chilli yugalam. Okay, thank you.
ब्रह्मरन्ध्रपदमीश्वर विश्वगन्त छन्दांसि केशवघनास्तव केशभाषा उल्लासि चिल्लियुगलं द्रुहिणास्य केहं पश्मानि रात्रिदिवसौ सविता च नेत्रे.
Second line, Sukanya, Keshapashaha. Visarga there, okay.
Okay. त्वद्ब्रह्मरान्ध्रपदमीश्वर विश्वकन्त छन्दांसि केशवगणास्तव केशुभाषग उल्लासि चिल्लियुगलं द्रुहिणास्य केहं पश्मानि रात्रिदिवसौ सविता च नेत्रे.
निःशेष विश्वरचना च कटाक्ष मोक्षः कर्णौ दिशोश्वियुगलं तव नासिके द्वे लोभत्रपे च भगवन्न धरोत्तरोष्ठौ तारागणाश्च दशनाः शमनश्च दंष्ट्रा. Kataksha moksha says your glance, O Purusha, you just decide that the world has to form and the entire Prakriti starts the creation of the universe, right? And like you said, there is that when we spoke about the original Purusha, we said how all this Prakriti is getting merged and all this Mahatattva, all of this creates the formation of the 14 worlds. That is referred to as our known universe. That entire Brahmandam is one universe, which has one Brahma. But this talks about how from that Purusha, multiple universes are constantly coming and getting done, are getting completed. So when we say everything is gone at the end of the final pralayam of Brahma, which we see in Dasakam 8 and 7, that means his entire 14 worlds in the universe is gone. But some universe is always starting, and it's a continuous creation and destruction of the universes are happening. But it is all happening from that one main Purusha. But remember, for this Brahmandam that we're talking about, a portion of the energy of Purusha is coming into each of this Brahmandam. So, and we'll see a little bit of the descriptions of the various types of Vishnu. I'll tell you at some other time. It is not here, but I'll tell when we're going through some other Dashakams. So, Nishesha Vishwa. Okay, so anyway, so the one, you who created all of these universe, right? So in this again, he talks about how the different directions of yours are the various directions. Your ears are the various directions because that's how sound travels, right? So through the various directions. Then your nostrils are the Ashwini Devas, which are there. Like I said, all of this is just telling how everything is part of the Lord. That's all, right? And then it talks about how your teeth are the stars because they are shining. And then amongst the teeth, your molars is where Yamadeva is there. Yamadeva resides there. Nishesha Vishwa Rachana Cha Kataksha Mokshaha, comma, Karnau Dishoshvi Yugalam. That's one word. It's Ashvi Yugalam. So Dishoshvi Yugalam. Tava Nasike Dve Lobhatrapecha Bhagavanna Dharota Roshtau. Cannot break that word. So Bhagavanna Dharota Roshtau, comma, Tara Ganascha Dashanaha. Put a ish to join it. Dashanash Shamanascha Damshtra. Damshtra referring to the molar teeth. Nishesha Vishwarachana Cha Kataksha Mokshaha Karnau Dishoshvi Yugalam Tavanasike Dve Lobhatrape Cha Bhagavanna Dharotaroštau Tara Ganascha Dashana Shamanascha Damshtra.
निःशेष विश्वरचना च कटाक्षमोक्षः कर्णौ दिशोऽश्वियुगलं तव नासिके द्वे लोभत्रपे च भगवन्नधरोत्तरोष्ठौ तारागणाश्च दशनाः शमनश्च दंष्ट्रा निःशेष विश्वरचना च कटाक्षमोक्षः कर्णौ दिशो विश्वयुगलं तव नासिके द्वे लोभत्रपे च भगवन्नधरोत्तरोष्ठौ तारागणाश्च दशनाः शमनश्च दंष्ट्रा.
Rajesh, sorry, or a quick question. Last line, Tara Ganashcha Radana, அது கொஞ்சம் திருப்பி சொல்லல?
Tara Ganascha Dashanaha you will have there. And the Visarga will take a ish sound there. Dashanash Shamanascha Damshtra.
Dashanash Shamanas. Okay. So the Tara Ganashcha அதுக்கப்புறம் ரதனாகன் இருக்குல்ல, இது வெறும் தனாக தானா?
Dashana. That's what I have. I don't know why it says Rathana. So I'm just typing here. Dashana. And then you put a ish to join.
Because என்னோட புக்லயும் அப்படி போட்டிருக்கு, ரதனாகான்னு போட்டு பிராக்கெட்ஸ்ல தசனாகான்னு போட்டிருக்கு.
Yeah, Dashana. Just change it to Dashana for consistency. It probably means the same thing, but
Dashanash. So
Dashanaha you will have them. And the Visarga, you put a ish sound. Remove the Visarga, put a ish sound because Sha is coming later. So Dashanash Shamanascha Damshtra.
Dashanash Shamanas. Okay, fine. Thank you.
निशेष विश्वरशनाश कटाक्षमोक्षः कर्णौ दिशोऽश्वियुगलं दवनाशिके द्वे लोपत्रपेश बहवन्नदरोष्टौ sorry, can I repeat? लोपत्रपेश बहवन्नदरोष्टौ दारागणाश्च दशनाश् शमनश्च
Damshtra. And the third line, Bhagavanna Dharota and Ata Dharota Roštau.
निशेष विश्वरशनाश कटाक्ष मोक्षः कर्णौ दिशोऽश्वियुगलं तव नासिके द्वे लोपत्रपेश बहवन्नदरोत्रोष्टौ तारागणाश्च दशनाः शमनश्च दंष्ट्रा.
Maya Vilasahasitam Shwasitam Samhiro Jihva Jalam Vachanamisha Shakunta Panktihi Siddhadaya Swaragana Mukarandramagnihi Deva Bhujastanayugam Tava Dharma Devaha. So your smile is the illusion that Maya, which creates everything, which makes everyone believe that I am me, I am different from the Lord, I am, unique. All this illusion that is actually getting created is all because it's there in your smile, right? And then Jihva refers to the tongue. So he says your tongue is the water that is actually there everywhere. And the voice of yours is the Siddhas. The Siddhas and the other suragana, the people who can sing, and all the music that is getting created is essentially your voice. And your mouth is Agni. So Mukamapi Dahano, it comes in Vishnu Sahasranamam and in Purusha Suktam. It says your mouth is the Agni. And all the gods who are there are your arms, because they are essentially your servants. They are the ones who do action on your behalf. And Dharma Deva is your breast, Sthana Yugam. Maya Vilasa Hasitam Shwasitam Samiro, Jihwa Jalam Vachanamisha Shakunta Panktihi Siddhadayah, put is Siddhadayas Swaragana Mukha Randram Agnihi. Another Visarga and comma there. Mukha Randram Agnihi, comma. Fourth line on top of Deva. If you have a ir, that will go away. Deva Bhujaha, put is to join. Bhujas Stanayugam Tava Dharma Devaha. Maya Vilasa Hasitam Shwasitam Samiro Jehwa Jalam Vachanamisha Shakunta Panktihi Siddhadaya Swaragana Mukarandram Agnihi Deva Bhujastana Yugam Tava Dharma Devaha.
Maya Vilasa Sahitam Shwasitam Samiro Jihwa Jalam Vachanamisha Shakunta Panktihi Siddhadaya Swaragana Mukharandramagnihi Deva Bhujastanayugam Tava Dharma Deva.
Devaha Dharma Devaha.
Dharma Devaha. Maya Vilasa Sahitam Shwasitam Samiro Jihwa Jalam Vachanamisha Shakunta Panktihi Siddhadaya Swaragana Mukharandramagnihi Deva Bhujastanayugam Tava Dharma Devaha.
That first line, Vilasa Hasitam, smile.
Maya Vilasa Hasitam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maya Vilasahasitam Swasitam Samiro Jihva Jalam Vasanamisha Shakunta Panktihi Siddhadaya Swaragana Muharantramagnihi Deva Pujastanayugam Tava Dharma Devaha. Devaha. Maya Vilasahasitam Swasitam Samiro Jihva Jalam Vasanamisha Shakunta Panktihi Siddhadaya Swaragana Mukarantaramagnihi Deva Pujastanayugam Tava Dharma Deva.
Dharma Devaha. Last word.
Tava Dharma Devaha.
Prishtham Twadharma Iha Deva Manassudhamshuhu Avyaktameva Hridayambujam Ambujaksha Kukshis Samudra Nivaha Vasanam Tu Sande Shepah Prajapati Rasau Vrishanau Chamitraha. So your back is Prishtham, is Adharma, is all the Adharma which is there, because everything is part of the Lord, right? There's nothing which is not part of the Lord. So the Adharma is part of your back. And let's say Chandrama Manaso Jataha, we said moon is part of your mind, and the oceans are all in your abdomen. And shape of Prajapati. Prajapatis are beings who are responsible for the creation of other beings. We're going to see all of them coming later, Prajapatis and everything. So they are your generative organs. So if you think of a human body, we have organs which are used for generating other beings, right? You see, similarly, your generative organs are the Prajapatis who are responsible for creating other beings. So Prishtham Twadharma Iha Deva Manaha, put a is manas, Sudhamshuhu, put a visargan comma, Sudhamshuhu. Next line, if you have a Ravyakta, the Ra will go, it becomes a A. Avyaktameva Hridayambujam Ambujaksha. I'm just breaking that ma. Hridayambujam Ambujaksha. Kukshihi, put a is to join. Kukshis Samudra Nivaha Vasanam tu sandhye, comma, shepaha, put a F to join, shepah, prajapati rasau, vrishanau cha mitraha. पृष्ठं त्वधर्म इह देव मनस्सुधांशुः अव्यक्तमेव हृदयाम्बुजम् अम्बुजाक्ष कुक्षिः समुद्रनिवहावसनं तु सन्ध्ये शेफः प्रजापतिरसौ वृषणौ च मित्रः.
पृष्ठं त्वधर्मैः मनःसुधांशुः अव्यक्तमेव हृदयाम्बुजमम्बुजाक्ष कुक्षिः समुद्रनिवहावसनं तु सन्ध्ये शेफः प्रजापतिरसौ वृषणौ च मित्रः. पृष्ठं त्वधर्मैः देवमनःसुधांशुः अव्यक्तमेव हृदयाम्बुजम् अम्बुजाक्ष कुक्षिः समुद्रनिवहावसनं तु सन्ध्ये शेफः प्रजापतिरसौ वृषणौ च मित्रः.
पृष्ठं द्वधर्मैः देवमनः सुधांशु अव्यक्तमेव हृदयम्बुजाम् अम्बुजाक्ष कुशिचमुत्रनिवाह कुशिक्षमुत्रिवाहवसनं तुष्यन्ते शोभ प्रजापतिरसौ वृषणौ च मित्रः.
First line sudhamshuhu, there's a visarga there, end of the first line. And then the fourth line, shepah prajapatirasau.
Okay. पृष्ठं त्वधर्म इह देवमनः सुधांशु सुधांशुः अव्यक्तमेव हृदयाम्बुजम् अम्बुजाक्ष कुशिसमुद्रनिवाहवसनं तु सन्ध्येय शोभः प्रजापति शेपः प्रजापति रसौ वृषणः च मित्रः.
श्रोणी स्थलं मृगगणाः पदयोर्नखास्ते हस्त्युष्ट्रसैन्धवमुखाः गमनं तु कालः विप्रादिवर्णभवनं वदनाब्जबाहु चारूरुयुग्मचरणं करुणाम्बुदेते. So here it talks about, it says the animal, all the animals who are there, it says is your lower back. Then it talks about the four varnas, right? So Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So again, a lot of this is from Purusha Suktam only, right? So Purusha Suktam, it says, Brahmanosya mukamasit bahu rajanyakritah uru tadasya yad vaishyah padbyam shudro ajayata. So it says your Brahmanas, right, are, it talks about how each one is coming from one, which represents, because Vaishyas who are there are the merchants, right? The Shudras who are there are your foot. Now, doesn't mean foot is bad. In fact, later on in 100th Dasakam, Bhattaripat says your foot is the highest of all the beings. So when it says Shudras or your foot, we cannot say they're bad. And we all have a little bit of everything in us anyways, right? So Brahmanosya mukham asit, they are Brahmanas with your face, because Brahmanas are supposed to chant the Vedas, right? So it comes from the mouth. So it says that's why the Brahmanas are your face. And Bahu Rajanya Kritaha, the Kshatriya clan, are your arms, because we say we are strong because we have strong arms. That's one way to describe, because the Kshatriyas are supposed to fight and protect. So he says they are coming out of your arms, right? So similarly, Uru Tarasya Tad Vaishyas are coming from your thighs, and then the Shudras are coming from your feet, because they do all the grunt work, right? Are the people who do the grunt work are called the Shudras. So Shroni Sthalam Mrigaganaha, put a F, Mrigaganah, Padayor Nakaste, put a plus, Hastyushtra, Saindhava Mukhaha. So we're going to add a visarga there and put a comma. Mukhaha, comma. Gamanam tu Kalaha. Vipradi Varna Bhavanam Vadanabja Bahu. And then put a plus. Charuru Yugma Charanam Karunam Bhudete. So the last two lines are together. Shroni Sthalam Mrigaganah Padayornakaste Hastyushtra Saindhava Mukaha Gamanam tu Kalaha Vipradi Varna Bhavanam Vadanabjabahu Charuru Yugma Charanam Karunam Bhudete.
I will stumble first. 1 second. Shronis Thalam Mrigaganah Padayornakaste Hastyushtara Mukhaha Gamanam tu Kalaha Vipradivarna Bhavanam Vadanabjabahuscharuru Yugmacharanam Karunam Budhete. Rajesh, idla comma-வே இல்லையா?
Third and fourth line is together. First line, first two lines, first line is together. After second line, after Mukhaha is a comma there.
Okay. Shronisthalam Mrugagana Padayornakaste Hastyushtara Saindhava Mukhaha Gamanam tu Kalaha Vipradivarna Bhavanam Vadanabjabahuscharuru Yugmacharanam Karunam Budhete.
Rajesh, ஒரு quick question. On the second line, on the
Yushtra.
Hastyushtra.
Yeah.
அது அந்த வேர்ட்ல ஏதாவது ஸ்பிளிட் இருக்கா இல்ல?
It's Hasti and Ushtra. Hasti referring to elephant and Ushtra. So Hasti and Ushtra becomes Hastyushtra.
Hastyushtra. Okay.
But you can't break it because of that.
Hastyushtra. Thank you.
Roni Stalam Brihagana Padayornahastade Hastyustra Shaintava Muhaha Gamanam Tukalaha Vipradivarna Pavanam Vada Nabja Pajahu Charuruyuk Macharanam Karunam Budete.
Second line after Mukhaha, there is a pause. Okay, there's a comma there.
Shronisthalam Ruhaganaha Padayornahaste Hastyustra Shaintava Muhaha Kamanam tu Kalaha Vipradivarna Bhavanam Vastanabja Bahu Sharura Yukmacharanam Karunam Budete.
And the Gamanam tu Kalaha, after second line, there's anyway a pause at the end of that line. I think you were trying to join second and third. So Gamanam tu Kalaha, that's ends there. And then Vipradi Varna. Okay. Okay, 9 and 10 we'll quickly run through. We have 7 minutes left. Samsara Chakramayi Chakradhara Kriyaste, comma, Viryam Mahasura Ganosti Kulani Shailaha Nadyas Sarit Samudayas Taravascha Roma, comma, Jiyadidam. Next word is a long word, you cannot break it. Vapura Nirvachaniyam Isha. We cannot break that word. It's Vapur Anirvachanam Isha. It's too hard to break it that way. So just have to say the whole word together. Samsara Chakramai Chakradhara Kriyaste Viryam Mahasura Ganosti Kulani Shailaha Nadyas Sarit Samudayas Taravascha Roma Jiyadidam Vapura Nirvachaniyamisha.
ராஜேஷி, அந்த தேர்டோட இன்னொரு தரம் அந்த பிரேக்கப் சொல்றேல ஒரு தரம்.
Nadyas Sarit Samudayas Taravascha Roma.
Sansara Chakramai Chakradhara Kriyaste वीर्यं महासुरगणोऽस्ति कुलानि शैलाः नाढ्यः सरित्समुदयस्तरवश्चरोम जीयादिदं वपुरनिर्वचनीयमीश संसारचक्रमयी चक्रधरक्रियास्ते वीर्यं महासुरगणोऽस्ति कुलानि शैलाः नाढ्यः सरित्समुदयस्तरवश्चरोम जीयादिदं वपुरनिर्वचनीयमीश
संसारचक्रमयि चक्रधरग्रियास्ते वीर्यं महाशूरगणोऽस्ति गुलानि शैलः नाट्यशरित् समुदयश्चरवश्च रोमा जीयातितं वपुरनिर्वसनीयमीश
The second line, Sailaha. Visarga at the end. Okay.
शैलाः संसारचक्रमयि चक्रधरगिर्यास्ते वीर्यं महाशुरगणोऽस्ति कुलानि शैलाहि
Shailaha.
शैलाः नाट्यश्चरितसमुदयश्चरवश्च रोम जीयातिदं वपुरनिर्वशनीयामिषु.
First line, the Kriyaste Kapran, there's a comma too, okay? You don't have to join with the second line. There's a at the end of the line. Idruk Jaganmaya Papus Tava Karma Bhajam, comma, Karmavasana Samaye Smaraniyam Ahuhu Tasyanta Ratma Vapushe Vimalatmane Te, comma, Vatalayadhipa Namostu Nirundi Rogan. So quickly say the meaning. No, it says that at the end of every karma vasana, and the karma here referring to when you do any puja, when you do any event, right? Then at that time, because that's why typically when you do any homa, we always chant Purusha Suktam at the end of it. When you do any puja in your house, the priest will always chant Purusha Suktam. That's what this is also referring to at the end of the day, right? So at that point, and also at the end of your life, because this originally starts with Parikshit, Sukabrahman telling the story of a person called Khadvanga who had very few moments left. He says, what do I do in the very few moments left in my life? He says, think of Bhagavan as the superior person who has everything in him. So that's what this chapter is talking about. So here now you may say, I don't remember if Jange, Tala, Talamato, I don't know which is Tala, I don't know which is Sutala. You don't have to worry about it. You just, everything you know of, you think of it as being part of that Bhagavan. And everything is contained within him, and there's nothing outside of him. That's as long as you can imagine or visualize that. That's what they're referring to here. He says that is what you need to do at the end of your life and at the end of every event that you're performing. You have to remember this. Oh, Guru Arapa, please eradicate my ailments. Idrak Jaganmaya Vapustava Karma Bhajam Karma Vasana Samaye Smarani Yamahu Tasyantaratma Vapushe Vimalatmane Te Vatalayadhipanamosthu Nirundhirogan.
ईदृग्जगन्मय वपुस्तव कर्मभाजां कर्मावसानसमये स्मरणीयमाहुः तस्यान्तरात्मवपुषे विमलात्मने ते वातालयाधिपनमोऽस्तु निरुन्दिरोगान् ईदृग्जगन्मय वपुस्तव कर्मभाजां कर्मावसानसमये स्मरणीयमाहुः तस्यान्तरात्मवपुषे विमलात्मने ते वातालयाधिपनमोऽस्तु निरुन्धिरोगान्
ईतृक्जहन्मयवपुस्तव कर्माभाजां कर्मावाशानशमये स्मरणीयमाहुः दश्यान्तरात्मवपुषे विमलात्मने दे वादालयाधिपे नमोऽस्तु निरुन्तिरोगान्त ईतृक्जहन्मयवपुस्तव कर्माभाजां कर्मावशानमश्मये स्मरणीयमाहुः स्मरणीयमाहुः तस्यान्तरात्मवपुषे विमलात्मनेदे वादालयादिपानमस्तो निरुत्तिरोगान्त।
श्रीकृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः। सान्द्रानन्दावबोधात्मकमनुपमितं कालदेशावधिभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानाम्। कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि।
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Rajesh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you.